right, welcome everyone to our spring 2021 quarterly meeting. This is the Community College Consortium for OER, and we're so glad you could join us today on what I hope is an emerging spring weather in your part of the world. And next slide, please, Liz. So I'm Una Daly, in case you haven't met me before, the director of CCCOER. I'm here with Liz Yata, our communities manager, and with many of our executive council members, and also with many of our members. So Liz, did you want to tell folks what to do here?
Yeah, so you should be able to annotate, and there's a little button that should be in the toolbar where it says, mute, stop video, all that good stuff. And what you're going to do is find a stamp button. There's a couple different ones, the arrow, star, heart, X, and you're going to go on the screen and just click where you are. So I'll click mine.
San Francisco. And if you go under view options up at the top of your screen, I believe you'll see that under view options, there's an annotate button, which is another
Yeah, if it's not on your main toolbar, it might be under the more button, depending on how big your screen is.
Yeah. All right. It's like we've got a good representation from East Coast, Midwest, West Coast, Southwest.
Okay, so Lori Beth's having some trouble.
No worries. The first time I did this annotation too, I was really confused.
I'm all over the place there. I had my chat open.
No worries.
Just clicking in the chat.
And it's okay to put it in the chat too, because that's basically.
I consider myself a global citizen, so that's why I'm.
Totally agree with that one, Lori Beth. Right. Let's see. I just realized. Oh, there, I can get rid of my chat window. So no worries if you couldn't find yourself on there. We'll get another chance to play with this in just a few moments. Do you want to take a snapshot, Liz, or I've also taken a screenshot?
Okay, great.
Because we'll include this in the archives so people can see.
Okay, I gotta clear it though, otherwise it'll show up on the next slide. Oops. Like that. Oh, great. It doesn't want to let me.
Yeah. A few stars and hearts never hurt.
There we go.
All right. So our agenda, we're going to do some introductions, and then we're going to meet our two new members from February and March. We're excited to have you with us. And then we're going to talk a little bit about some upcoming projects, or I should say some projects that have just launched, our regional leaders of open education. We are going to talk about OEG board elections, which are currently underway, and you should have received an email about, but we'll go into a bit more detail. And then we're going to talk about summer activities, and finally, how you can get more involved in CCCOER, join the council if that's of interest to you, and just updates on upcoming events. So if you haven't had a chance to introduce yourself in the chat window, please do, name and institution or city. And thanks for those of you who've already shared. Great to see you all here. Oh, it's good to see that Cindy's got nice weather up there in northern Wisconsin. All right, I think you probably know all of these folks, and Lisa and Sue have previous meetings. Unfortunately today, they came back from spring break and got surprised that they had meetings, new meetings on their calendar. But Lisa will be joining us later today. So those are our co-presidents, Lisa Young from Scottsdale Community College in Arizona and Sue from Northern Essex Community College. Alexis Clifton is our current board member at the OEG, and she'll be stepping down this spring. And she is at SUNY Geneseo. So that is the State University of New York, Geneseo. And of course, you've met myself and Liz. Would you like to say hello?
Hi, everyone. Glad you could join us today.
All right, Thanks so much. And Paul Stacy, our executive director at OE Global, was unable to make it today, but I believe we have Alan Levine, our director of member engagement. Well, Alan may be joining us later. I'll
No, I'm here. I was fumbling for the microphone.
sorry. You're usually so awake, Alan, at our early morning meetings. That great. And Alan's going to share with us some of the work he's been doing around our OEG Connect platform and some opportunities for the CCCOER members to create communities there. And he might also share a little bit about what he's been doing with H5P and some options around that. Sorry to surprise you, Alan, on that one. I know Alan's a H5P expert, so it'll be great to hear about that. All right, next slide, please. And here's the amazing other members of our executive council. And I'm not going to call them all out here, but many of them are here today at the meeting, and we'll have a chance to say hello later as they talk about the roles that they play on our executive council. All right, I'm going to now turn this over to Cindy Domica, who is our VP of New Relations. New Member Relations. I gave you a new title there, Cindy. I'm just going to introduce our new members.
Hello, everybody. I am excited to introduce our two new members, at least since the last time. We are proud to welcome the 7th college from Wisconsin to join. Thomas, I believe I saw you on. He's from Milwaukee Area Technical College. Thomas, if you want to introduce yourself and then tell us a little bit about what Milwaukee is doing with OER.
Hello, everyone. My name is Thomas Kalavala. Glad to be here. I'm excited to be here, in fact. So thank you so much for the kind words. And Milwaukee Area Technical College is a big college, one of the largest community colleges in the state. And we are now in our early phase, so we are behind the game, but we are catching up. Early stage of adapting OER. We have more than 200 different programs, and as you see here, around 35,000 enrollment per year, and we have a great potential, and we are excited to be in this group, and we are learning new things. And I know some of you guys, I saw Vince, I met Paul at Milan conference. I'm not sure Una was there. So I have some familiar face, and I'm looking forward to working with you, everyone. Thank you so much.
Welcome, Thomas. And also proud to welcome our first Canadian member, Robert. Robert, if you want to pop on and tell us a little bit about Northwest College. I had the pleasure of talking to Robert yesterday, and he is thrilled to be our first Canadian member. So Robert, I will turn it over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much. It was great to talk to you yesterday, Cindy. And I'm really, really excited to be joining the CCCOER. We have a college that is really moving towards open education and the adoption of open educational resources. And we've just developed our OER procedure, which will fit under another policy. And that's going to help get the executive on board with respect to the adoption of OER. We already have a lot of faculty that are adopting open images. And we're going to be creating our first OER textbook this year on settlement studies. So lots of really exciting developments in terms of open. And we really hope to become a zero textbook cost institution by 2030. That's our big goal. So we have very ambitious targets. And I'm so excited to be a part of this organization because it allows us to form partnerships with people across North America to share resources, get ideas. Looks like there's lots of wonderful professional development opportunities. I had the good fortune to go to OE Global and really enjoyed it. I've been there 3 times, I think. The last one was in the fall. Great way to connect. Really enjoyed it. And I think I met Alan there. So, so he's one province over. But very excited to be here and to be the first Canadian institution. I think that's wonderful.
Thank you, Robert. We're thrilled to have both of you join us.
Absolutely. And let's see, I guess next slide, Liz. All right. So, you know, when Robert was speaking about policies, it sort of struck a chord with our regional leaders of open education. So this is something we started about a year, not quite a year and a half ago, but back in fall of 2019, we launched an initiative at Open Ed 2019 in Phoenix, Arizona. And it was focusing on collaboration across state and regional and national boundaries, if you will, although the first rendition was primarily US focused, but certainly won't be in our second phase. And the three areas of focus were policy, professionalism, stewardship, and sustainability. And there were 4 work groups who worked on each of these topics and produced various outputs. And we presented on this a number of times. If you haven't seen some of those, I'm happy to send you links to all of that. But we just launched a regional leadership network phase 2 in February, and we're in the process of actually of hiring a program manager for that. Who will direct it over the next 2 years. There's 3 iterations of a cohort model in building this network, and you can kind of see the dates there. And once again, there's going to be a focus on those 4 areas, but there'll be kind of an intensive workshop training period for each of the cohorts, and it'll learning together, collaborating, and sharing strategies to achieve open education goals at your organization. And it'll be very open pedagogy focused, which means that the participants get to help us develop the training as we go. So excited about that. And I know, Mike, are you with us?
I am.
So Mike Mills is the VP of academic, I'm going to get this wrong, but innovation and teaching at Montgomery College. He's been a member of our exec council for several years, and he's our partnerships VP. And Mike has been participating in this since the beginning and is also helping us with the planning on this phase 2. So
Yeah, thanks, Una. And
Mike,
go ahead.
no, I was going to say, just, yeah, share your thoughts about it and, you know, potential collaborations, et cetera.
Yeah, and as you can imagine, there's a lot of interest in various spaces about developing open leaders. And we're excited about this Arlo program. But what I am equally excited about is the possibility of collaborating with some of these other organizations. The American Association of Colleges and Universities is having an Open Education Institute. The Open Education Network is also having an Institute for Leaders. And we've reached out to these different groups to talk about collaboration. And I think in the spirit of open, it only makes sense that whatever we develop is shareable with others and likewise. And I've reached out today to AAC&U and Open Ed Network and have already heard back from AAC&U, and they're very interested in getting together to hear more about what Arlo is all about and possible collaboration strategies. So it's exciting, and I think, you know, while we'll be able to do some great things with Arlo, I think we can be part of a very much a broader discussion on developing open leaders.
Great. Yeah, thank you very much, Mike. I think that's really important. There's a lot of work around this. And, you know, once again, this is the open movement. We need to work together and not duplicate efforts. So, all right, thank you. Yes, I know. Yeah, all right. So many of you know we have an equity, diversity, inclusion committee that was started up in the summer and has been moving forward with a number of discussions, presentations at various conferences, etc. And we have one of the leaders from that committee today here with us, Tanja Connerly, to talk about some upcoming plans.
Thank you, Una. Hello and good afternoon. As Una told you, my name is Tanja Connerly, and I'm honored to be one of the members of the EDI committee. This spring, we are looking to incorporate a book discussion pertaining to equity. And our first kickoff will be utilizing the book From Equity Talk to Equity Walk. And as an OER member of the community, we've been doing this already. We've been talking the talk and walking the walk for a long time. In the book, I want to just read like a little, just one sentence that's most definitely let you know that we have been doing the work for such a long time, and we continue to progress. But Dr. Ben Simone basically states that rather than offering abstract concepts and vague buzzwords, this book will deliver concrete, actionable steps to make racial equity the responsibility of us all. Again, I like to use that word, the buzzword, because it is a new buzzword now for everybody. But again, it's not new to us. So I think that we totally need to be commended for that. On Thursday, when we will be meeting again on our next meeting, we'll have more additional information pertaining to the book discussion that we hope to kick off later on this spring. And we hope that you will be able to join us. Even though this book is a non-OER publication, but remember again that we're about sharing knowledge. So when we share this knowledge, again, we're just expanding and just making our community a more equitable educational environment. So we hope to see you again on Thursday, and we hope that you join our book discussion. Thank you.
Sorry. Thank you very much, Tanja, for sharing that. That opportunity for folks to get involved in both the asynchronous, if you're, remote discussion, and also to join us monthly for those meetings, which are the fourth Thursday of the month. And we're happy to send you an invitation to those meetings if you'd like to join them in person, so to speak, over Zoom. And we'll be using the OEG Connect platform to engage in those asynchronous conversations, as I think Tanja referred to. And in a moment, we are going to actually discuss that. But one of my exec council members just let me know that he has to leave in a few short minutes. And so he wanted to talk a little bit about our spring webinar. So excuse us for jumping out of sequence here, and then we'll come back and continue the conversation around the summer activities and what Tanja started around that reading group. So Nathan, we will turn this over to you to talk about the spring webinars as our one of our VPs of professional development.
Thanks, Una. Just going to get queued up here, but yeah, we have 3 remaining spring webinars this spring. And so as you can see, on the 14th of next month, we'll have the K through 12 and community college collaborations on OER. And then in May 12th, we'll talk about finding professional development activities for your faculty and staff that having to do with OER and licensing and instruction. And then on June 9th, we're going to be doing a webinar that comes from sort of the members and our surveys, our annual surveys. And this one is going to be focused specifically on using open pedagogy to promote anti-racist classrooms. So I think those are all really exciting things. And of course, you can find more information about the webinar participants and the times and registration on the website.
Great. Thank you very much, Nathan, for that. So we're excited about those last three webinars. And I know Ted is here as well from Roxbury College. He's also a member. And Ted will be assisting us with the June webinar on using open pedagogy to build anti-racist classrooms. And Ted, I didn't know if you wanted to add anything there.
No, thank you. Welcome to our wonderful constructive, the group for CCCOER. This group very beneficial for our students and our faculty members and professional staff, particularly librarians like me. Thank you.
Thank you, Ted. All right. Thank you, Liz, for moving us back. Liz, did you want to talk about this slide? We want to invite everyone to help us choose our summer activities. And we thought we might do this in kind of a fun way. And so Liz is the expert on annotating. So Liz.
Okay, so what we want you to do is to use that stamp tool again and vote for up to 2 choices. And you want to put a little stamp in one of the boxes. So we've got, last summer we did our intro to OER tutorials. We could do something similar, but updated, or we could move on and to open pedagogy tutorials. We could do H5P, and I'll give Alan a chance in a minute to tell us about that. It looks like people are already excited about the equity, diversity, and inclusion reading group. If there's something else, you can click that and then put it in the chat, or you can try and use the writing tool and write it in on this slide.
And I believe you can, type in text here using the annotation, but if you find you can't type that in, oh, there we go. Feel free to put it in the chat window.
Okay, it looks like we have 2 votes for Code of Best Practices for Fair Use in OER. So that's great.
Wonderful. Yeah, there's been a lot of interest in that area, and the Creative Commons America folks have been leading that. And we actually had Meredith Jacobson, or Jacobs, I think, join us last spring for a webinar. So yeah, and she's always happy to come and share. So wonderful. Well, while we're letting people continue to vote, I wanted to invite Alan Levine to talk a little bit about setting up community discussions. And Alan, you can reword that if you want, but community discussions in the OEG Connect platform, which would be similar to what Tanja was suggesting around an equity, diversity, and inclusion reading group, but it wouldn't have to be a reading group. It could be some other activity.
Sure thing. Thank you, Una, and thank you everybody else. Great to be among the CCC people. That's where I got my start, but that's another story. Robert experienced some of OEG Connect, and others did during the conference last year. It's an asynchronous discussion platform, and we've been looking and trying different ways to find things that would be of interest to folks. And I think the idea about having a reading group is something that we are interested in supporting there. And it's really a matter of, once you have an account, there are open discussion areas, or we could create kind of a little cubbyhole area just for the CCC OER activities, where someone can say like, okay, I'm launching the discussion of this new EDI book that Tanja represented, and just start the conversation thread, and then other people simply reply. This uses the open source discourse platform, so it's pretty good at not nagging you too much. If you've not created an account there, you can go to the site and create one, but you have to be approved. But I can put a special link in that will allow you to basically create an account and skip the approval process. So you can get in there a little bit quicker. And so I invite you to explore. I try to throw in a couple of interesting things, and Liz is really good, and Nuna as well as jumping in to the conversations, but we're still kind of shaping what it could be. And in addition, we're looking at a partnership with the OERU group that's out of New Zealand. They have a series of courses that we're going to be able to sort of run as our own self-paced courses. And they have one on copyright and intellectual rights. And it even comes with sort of a certificate granting at the end of it, you know, so in parallel as a different offering to what Creative Commons offers. And so we're looking at rolling that out pretty soon and hoping to run sort of our first run of one of these courses sometime later in the spring. And it's largely self-paced with some asynchronous discussion that would take place in our OEG Connect. And I don't know if you wanted me to babble about H5P, but tell me when.
Yeah, please do, because there's some people who are new to it, and of course some who are quite familiar, but maybe just a real quick.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a very compelling technology, and it allows you to add things to websites, to your course management systems, and specifically a lot of interest because it's built into Pressbooks as a way of creating a large array of interactive activities. I've been working on a project with BC Campus that is supporting, currently we did 5 last year, now we're doing 6 projects where faculty are working with an existing open textbook, and what they're aiming to do is add what we call practice problems in the context of the text using H5P, which allows you to interact with things like multiple choice, true, false, but also like you know, image comparison and drag and drop activities. It allows you to take a video and put stop points on it. It becomes an interactive video, and you do this all without sort of a techie programming interface. And so the focus for this particular project is not so much as for creating like quizzing or anything that reports, but things that would help students just practice their understanding within the context of the textbook. And it's a little bit of a reaction to what textbook publishers have moved on to in terms of selling to students these these homework system platforms. And so BC Campus is looking at a couple projects to look at ways that this might be an open homework practice systems, kind of in parallel to the great effect that we've seen from you know, the textbooks. And so yeah, I'd be very interested in seeing Michael, your H5P work. We got some faculty working on a French textbook this semester. So if you want to follow, we run webinars every month. We have one coming up this week. We run these openly, and we have a site we call the kitchen. It's my metaphor for having people experiment in a friendly place. And I did a workshop for the Arizona OER conference. That's kind of my self-paced materials are there. And so if CCCOER is interested in doing some, you know, PD around H5P, I'd certainly be able to toss in and participate and help more people get some practice with it.
Wonderful. Thank you, Alan. It definitely does look like there's interest there. So we probably will tap you for something, and so if people want to find out about the open webinars you're doing with the BC campus, they should just go to your kitchen site.
Yes, we have one coming up. Our first one for the new round of projects is for the faculty who developed one in a vital signs measurement, and they added really original, something like 135 H5P interactions that are practice in skills of like measuring blood pressure and taking measurements from patients, and they did a stupendous job of it. And it'll be recorded and all that, so we make everything available.
Wonderful. And I just noticed that Vince is here also from Chippewa Valley, who's the OpenRN librarian there. He's a librarian director, but is the librarian who led the that project. And I know they've been using H5P for their interactive scenarios. I don't know if Vince wanted to throw in anything about that as well.
Yeah, we've been using H5P, particularly because they have the branching scenarios function. And it's kind of nice for the nursing students to be able to kind of create their own adventure per se. I don't have a link to those resources right now, but I'd be happy to follow up to share them with all if anyone would like to preview them. They'll be embedded directly into the Pressbook open text as well.
Great, thank you. And it sounds like what Alan was mentioning about taking your blood pressure and all that good stuff is probably, there's a lot of overlap.
Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be some overlap, but we'll get it to you so you can take a look at it too.
Great, excellent. So Liz, what do you think about our results here?
Yeah, looks good.
Lots of interest.
Lots of interest. So we've got some planning to do.
Yeah, and I just noticed that Shinta is also here from our Equity, Diversity, Inclusion, and Andrea as well. And I didn't know if you guys wanted to jump in with any additional information.
Well, I don't have any additional information, but thank you, Una, for that introduction. Just wanted to just say hi, and I appreciate this platform for us to share and discuss next steps. And I am just appreciative of the collaboration and partnership around this.
Great, thank you, Shinta.
This is Andrea. I don't have currently, I don't have video right now. I'm having some internet connection issues, but thank you for the mention. And like Shinta, I don't have anything else to add, but it's a great group, and I'm excited to see what, as things move forward, what we're able to come up with as a group. So thank you.
Great, thank you both. I had a quick question about one of the things that got typed in here. And I just wanted to ask maybe for a clarification on it. And in the write-in, it says some work groups or cohorts are writing OER for a community of practice. And I don't know who entered that. And I just wanted to understand is, when you say they're writing OER, is that for a specific subject area or course?
This is Michelle, and I wrote that. It's more, so I'm writing right now, and I would love to have people to bounce ideas off of, or say, you know, I'm stuck here. What did you do? Oh, you're stuck there. This is what I did. Someone who's in it right at the same time, or a little bit before me or a little bit after me. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes. And so this is Michelle. Is it Oya or Oha?
It's Oya.
Oya.
Oya, yeah.
From Taft Community College. And I know you're in the process of writing, and I'm going to probably get this wrong, psychology statistics textbook.
Yes.
Yeah, and I do, you know, Alan can correct me if I'm wrong, but I definitely do think that we could create a community, and then it's a matter of getting some people involved in it to make that community rich and a place where you could bounce ideas off that are specifically on your subject area.
Yeah, I don't think it has to be on my subject area. I think it just has to be someone who is writing at the same time. I mean, I get that, you know, I have to figure out how to code equations, which is not exactly what I had planned on when I started writing this, but so there are some things that are very particular, but I think anyone who's written an OER has run into some similar issues. And I think knowing how an English instructor solved it compared to a biology instructor, compared to a stats instructor, that gives me a lot more things to think about than just talking to a bunch of people who also have written stats textbooks. Does that make sense? Does that?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And there, I mean, so there's, I see what you're saying. So creating really an area around that. There are specific organizations, obviously, like Pressbooks, that supports the writing of OER textbooks. But I think there's also room for maybe more informal kind of discussions within OEG Connect as well. So I hear what you're saying, Michelle.
Yes, so that was the explanation. I mean, if this isn't the right place, that's fine. It was just, as I'm doing it in a pandemic, I am very much just doing it all alone. And I feel like that there's other people who are probably also doing it all alone.
Right. And, I know we have some of our folks here from Reedley College as well. And I know that they're developing OER textbooks. I think they are using the Pressbooks platform. Yeah, Amy just piped into the chat window and also mentioned the Rebus community, which supports the development of open textbooks. So, Michelle, we could also talk a little bit offline, but yeah, and I don't know, Alan, what your thoughts are on using OEG Connect as a place for writers of OER textbooks to connect.
Absolutely. There's not really any parameters. We kind of created it as a community of open educators. And so we're hoping we get a smattering of questions coming in every now and then, but I think it would be a good place. Although Rebus, I've been in there and they have a great community as well. And so we definitely don't want you to have to, that lonely feeling of I got to figure out all this stuff by myself. And I know what a time sink that can be.
And I'm using LibreText, so I can, I can ask them for help, but it's not the people who are in it, right? I mean, some of them are, but we're all at different levels. So that, if we could get more people who were sort of closer to starting at the same time or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally makes sense.
But it sounds like there's some other areas that it might already be happening that I just don't know about.
Yeah. So, but there's no reason you couldn't do multiple. You get involved in multiple communities and see which one is ultimately the fit for it. So yeah, we could talk some more about if you want to go ahead with the OEG Connect, Michelle. We could talk about that some more too.
Okay, so that's what that meant.
Great, thank you. Yeah, that's really helpful. Anyone else have questions about this? Alrighty. Well, thank you. I think we'll be busy this summer. So that's good. Keep us out of trouble. I guess we'll move on to the next slide, Liz, if all right. Whoops, there we go. So our executive council, and you've met a few of them so far, amazing folks who help us, plan and carry out all of this great work. It's usually most people are with us for about 2 years, and then they move off or move into becoming, the president of the council. But we're kind of at a point where we're doing a more major refresh this spring. And I just wanted to give you a few of the parameters around it, and we'd love to have some new people join us. So we are committed to inclusive excellence, and we'll consider equity, inclusion, and diversity in all organizational efforts. When considering nominations, we want to build a more diverse representation. So that's a really high priority for us. We have a survey below here that there's a bit.ly here that Liz has put together, and we'll try and get that in the chat window in just a few moments, that you can fill out and let us know what your interest might be. Nominations will be due April 7th, and then we will interview folks who are interested in joining us. And then we'll have final selections by May 15th. And that's kind of a transition between May 15th and June 15th of the old executive council to the new one. Before I turn this over to the executive council members who are here, I just wanted to say that all executive council positions are required to attend a monthly meeting that we have, together as the exec council. And then there's individual meetings that occur periodically throughout a semester based on what you're doing. And they are recorded because we know that sometimes things do come up that, and we decide at the beginning of the semester as a group, what is the time that we're going to meet. So it isn't completely arbitrarily set. And let's see. Now I want to go to the next slide, Liz, and we'll, I'm going to ask the folks who are here to speak about their role on the council. And I know a number of folks couldn't join us today because they're just back from spring break and some meetings came up. So, but I know that Lori Beth is here with us. We have at least Ted is here from our professional development team. I'm not sure if Suzanne was able to join us. So I'm just going to invite you to speak a little bit about your position.
I can speak just a little bit about my position. I've just been attending the CCCOER, the meetings every month. I was not able to make the last one because of spring break, but it's been fun to get to know people and also to understand a little bit more about CCCOER nationwide and have some connections with OE Global and take on just a few small projects. So it's been a great way to get involved.
Thanks, Lori Beth. And Lori Beth has been one of our VPs of special projects. She's up at Central Lakes College in Minnesota. And sorry, I say up because I'm further south than you. And she jumped in and helped with events during our conference. She's presented at multiple webinars on some of the exciting work that she's doing at her college around OER, open pedagogy, and equity, diversity, inclusion. So thank you very much, Lori Beth. Mike, I know you're here, you've spoken before, but if you want to mention a little bit about partnerships.
Sure. Just would encourage anyone who is interested in giving back to the community of practice. This is a great organization to be a part of. My role with partnerships has morphed a little bit. It's ever changing. And as you heard earlier, it's now including reaching out to other similar organizations to see if we can in fact partner with them. We've had discussions in the past about CTE partnerships and, Pressbooks, Rebus. So it's just a great opportunity to learn more and get involved. And I would encourage anyone to do that if they're interested.
Thank you, Mike.
Hi, this is Suzanne. I'm on the phone.
Perfect. Suzanne, I didn't know. Yeah.
And it's hard to know when to jump in when I can't see anyone. But I'm on the Professional Development Committee, and it's been a really great experience getting to put together the webinars and reach out to folks and kind of connect with people who would be presenting. So it's definitely something I would encourage folks to look into if you're interested in helping put together webinars and meet folks that are doing fabulous things.
Thank you, Suzanne. And Suzanne is in Northern California at Butte Community College and has been leading the professional development along with the rest of the committee for the last 2 years, and really has done some outstanding webinars for us. And they're all archived and on our website if you want to check those out. Let's see, Ted, did you want to talk a little bit about your work on the professional?
Yes, I a team for professional development, and then our team very resourceful, and then we try to help, to create like a program for our members in CCCOER, and then we have the wonderful kind of fabulous, outcome of feedback from our members. If I recommend, if it's very good group for professional development.
Thank you, Ted. And Ted Ted's library director, presented with us last fall on the benefits of OER. He was on a panel with a student and several other leaders of OER at their colleges, and it was, yeah, really great. All right, I'm wondering if I'm missing anybody who's been coming in and out. So yeah, it looks like our presidents have not quite had a chance to make it yet. But I'm hoping they'll be here before the end. So the president, of course, has a somewhat bigger role because they help lead our meetings, set agendas. They represent us externally at various events. And usually it's ideal if that person has prior council experience so that it's not such a big transition when they come in as the president. This past year, we've had 2 presidents, so that it can be an option to split that that opportunity as well. And Cindy, did you get a chance to speak about your new member relationships?
Not yet. So this was actually a new role that was added in the last go around. So it took a bit to kind of figure out the direction of it, but I think we finally got in the swing of things. It's like everybody else has kind of said, CCCOER is a great organization to work with. And so my primary, responsibilities have been to work with onboarding new members and getting to meet with them. And we've recently started a committee that is looking into bringing added value to the members and pointing out the value of CCCOER to our members. So there's some work that's being done in that aspect. So there's gonna be actually more to come on that. But so it's a lot of new member relationships, and then also the December webinar for the member mixer. So that's also falls under the new members.
Yeah, thank you, Cindy. And Cindy's been doing this great work and meeting with all of our new members. And it's really so exciting when we get new colleges and particularly when we have folks join us from a state where we haven't had members before, because there's so much for us to learn about and try to support that work. So we hope that some of you may be interested, and it does not have to be yourself, because I know often the folks who are the representatives to CCCOER may be the busiest people in terms of your department. So we really encourage you to make this available to others within your organization. And thank you, Amy, for prompting me for that. And once again, we are looking to make this a more diverse executive council. So please consider that when you're reaching out to folks at your institutions who you think might have an interest in working with us on this. And it's also a great opportunity for us to showcase your work, because if someone's on the executive council, chances are we'll hear a lot about the great work you're doing, and we'll have an opportunity to share that. Next slide, please, Liz. Liz, I can't remember if you or I were going to talk about this, but we do have an annual survey that we send to our members, and we're targeting the last week of April that will go out. I think those of you who are have been members for a while are familiar with this. This year's is going to be a little shorter than last year. Last year we had we had quite a long one. And this one will be a little bit shorter, but we still hope to get feedback from you on how it went this year, helping us to set next year's priorities and suggesting future programming for us. So we really look forward to that. We look very closely at what the feedback that you gave us, and we use that in our planning for the upcoming year. All right, next slide. Oh, all right. Well, at this point, Lisa says she's still in that cabinet meeting, but I think we have to go ahead. And Jean, I don't think Jean was able to join us from Front Range Community College. Jean was going to introduce Lisa. So I wanted to let you know that Lisa is our co-president of CCCOER. She will be leaving the council, certainly not as a member, where she resides at Scottsdale Community College. She's the faculty director there of the Center for Teaching and Learning. She also was one of the co-leads of the Maricopa Millions Project, which is, of course, one of those role model OER programs that was started back in 2013. And Lisa's been with us for a long time, and she is running for the OEG board this spring. And we really want to urge you to consider voting for her. Actually, I think I'm not supposed to say that as a staff member, but I think we all have grown to know and love Lisa and what she brings to her leadership. Your representative for your institution should have received an email last week indicating how they would complete that voting. And so if you have any problems with that, you can contact Liz or I, and we're happy to walk you through that as well. And there are 5 slots available for this upcoming election. And we recommend that you, because this is voting for the entire Open Education Global, which is, we have members, I believe, in about 40 countries. So we really urge you to vote for those members that speak to you outside of North America, and also for Lisa. And we're not trying to say don't vote for other North American candidates, but we will say that because it's a global organization, there is weighting based on region. And so that's why we really encourage people to vote for those wonderful candidates that are also from outside of the region, because we want to represent the entire globe here, not just our North American buds. So any questions about that? I'm sorry, Lisa can't be here to speak for herself because she's quite eloquent. Well, voting must be completed by April 1st. We will send you a reminder next week, though, to make sure that you are able to catch your voting period. And we only have this voting once a year, so hopefully it's not too big a burden. Oh, I already voted. Thanks, Amy. All right, next slide, please. All right, strategic initiatives. So I don't know, Alan, did you want to speak to the strategic initiatives, the Open Education Global, or would you rather I speak about it?
I can, but I think you should speak about it.
Okay. Poor Alan. We were hoping that Paul Stacy, our executive director, would be here, but unfortunately he had a conflict. So recently, a draft of the Open Education Global Strategic Plan for 2021 through 2030 was released. And there's a link here at the bottom. It was shared on OEG Connect, and I believe it went out on our members list, and I apologize if it didn't. We'll send that out. So there are basically 3 strategic initiatives, of which, of course, there's 3 strategic initiatives. They're very broadly defined, as you can imagine, with a plan that focuses on the next 9 years. And that particular timeline was chosen because it corresponds to the UNESCO OER recommendations that came out late in 2019. And so the major focus is on field building. So really creating, continuing to develop open education. I mentioned a few areas where that exist today that are global, and then some specific ones, which obviously CCCOER is about field building of the open education. We also have a node in Latin America, which we call OE Latam, which is field building there. And there will be additional regional nodes over time. The second area is knowledge exchange. And so this is really connecting folks across regions. So obviously, The Regional Leaders of Open Education is a piece of that. We participate quite a bit in the Open Education for a Better World, which is a global mentoring program. And we're looking to be more involved in consolidating and connecting researchers as well. And then finally, the one that probably is in some ways a new way of thinking about how we do education and business in general is this idea of value co-creation networks. So obviously we're all familiar with open licensing and what that supports, but thinking about the value and how we measure that value of being able to reuse resources that are created and then adapt them and then share them back out. And there hasn't been a lot of research done on that particular aspect of value co-creation. So that's an area that we really see kind of being an exciting new place to look at. How do you measure that and who measures that? Because obviously it's probably not an institutional metric. It's a bigger metric than that because we're sharing across institutions and regions. The entire plan is available at that link on the page, sorry, at the bottom of the page. And I'd be happy to open up to any questions, which I may or may not be able to answer. Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Alan. So this strategic plan was developed in collaboration with the OEG board and a few other external stakeholders as well as staff. But it is out there in draft form, which means you're very much invited to contribute. And it would be interesting to see if people would like to have a separate meeting to really dive into this at some point. So we'll check in with you all on that. Next slide, Liz. I think we talked about the spring webinar, so check those out if you haven't had a chance. This is basically just our calendar that's coming up over the next 6 months, and we can let you read that at your leisure, but I wanted to mention that OE Global 2021, which is our annual conference, is coming along in shape. And the plan is for there to be a small in-person portion of it in early October. The last week of September will be a virtual conference that, of course, all of you will be invited to. But there is still a plan to have an in-person piece in Nantes at the University of Nantes in France. We will let you know, we think in June, whether that's a possibility. And I think we're just about at the last slide, right? So next slide, please, Liz. And here's some opportunities for you to be more involved if you would like to. It's a little bit of a summary of what we've talked about before, but we do invite you to write guest blogs for us. They could be about what's happening at your organization. We love to hear about how it's affecting students. And so we would love to have you invite students to write about their work. And you'll find some examples of this on our website, on our homepage. And also to suggest webinar speakers. And finally, I just want to leave this open to any questions that folks might have and thank all of you for coming today.